The Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni saga, just how much more bizarre can it get? Just when we thought we've heard it all, Blake Lively's ex-assistant has revealed some truly evil details about Blake, and it doesn't paint Blake as a victim, but as a shameless bully.
Okay, I'm extremely weirded out. I actually cried on the train home. I used to take the train back to Long Island. I was mortified. Again, not only did I not treat her unprofessionally, but nobody to my experience that I saw spoke to her. And I'm like, her? I didn't speak to anyone, let alone her, didn't know who she was. And so I was very confused, and they specifically kept saying, I'm freaking out, am I gonna lose my job at this point? Because you know how interns, the gravity of it hits me as I walk out, and I just start crying because I'm like, oh my god,
Now, more and more people are publicly dissing Blake. From Blake apparently having an affair with Scarlett Johansson's husband, to Blake being mean and ruthless to interns and reporters, to Blake getting co-stars fired. In this video, I'm going to show you the ugly side of Blake Lively that few people knew about. And as you already do know, Blake filed a lawsuit against actor Justin Baldoni, accusing him of harassment and of mounting a smear campaign against her to tarnish her reputation. Needless to say, Baldoni and his lawyers are fighting back.
Was there a coordinated smear campaign to bring down Blake Lively?
100% no. Justin Baldoni from the get-go said, I don't want to do anything negative toward her. I don't want to hurt her.
But sadly for Blake, this public back and forth he said, she said between her and Baldoni has backfired on her, and dismally so. If she thought she'd win the sympathy of fans and paint herself as a helpless victim, it had the opposite effect, and has in fact had people digging into her past and exposing her as one of Hollywood's most horrible bullies. And it was actually one of Blake's own personal former assistants who first came forward to expose some truly awful and evil details about her.
So this girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. So I've never heard of Justin Baldoni. I'm someone who, again, worked with Hollywood directors, never heard of this guy. This might have been his big break. And what I saw is her harassing him.
And since then, even some famous celebrities have followed suit to damn Blake Lively. Known as Cool Mom Jamie on various platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Jamie is a successful social media influencer who has also worked in the film and talent industry for around 20 years. So safe to say, she knows the ins and outs. And her horror story with Blake Lively literally drove her to tears and left her in shock. At the time, Jamie was just an intern and was working on the same set as Blake. Before she knew it, she was being scolded and shouted at, and all because of Blake, who apparently had some sort of inflated ego problem and wanted to trample on someone who she felt was a lesser human being than her.
After the meeting, and I'm freaking out now. I'm like, are they gonna let me go? What just happened? And then they're like, Jamie, you were pointed out. They said that you were treating Blake like a fan. Blake had a big complaint about you. And I'm literally I feel like I'm going crazy.
So basically, Blake accused Jamie of talking to her, which she was apparently not allowed to do, and of behaving like a flustered fangirl around Blake, which Blake supposedly didn't appreciate. Because how can some low-life intern dare to talk to a super famous celebrity like Blake Lively, right?
Be like, well, she said you treated her like a fan. She said you treated her like a fan. And the only thing I could reiterate, because at this point I'm getting very I'm sweating, I'm really freaking out. I'm like, I promise I didn't talk to her, but they weren't buying it at that point.
But here's the thing, this happened pre-Gossip Girl, which was Blake's first major acting role and her real breakthrough into Hollywood. In fact, this happened on the set of the 2005 film The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So basically, Blake was pretty much a nobody then. So for Blake to freak out and then throw a tantrum and insisting that an intern went full-blown fangirl over her even when she was still a nobody, I don't know. It seems like Blake may have had a bit of holier-than-thou complex right from the get-go, and that she had a habit of bullying people right from day one. And Jamie isn't the only non-celebrity who suffered Blake's wrath. Other horror stories have also emerged. So before we get to the list of actual famous Hollywood celebs who think Blake is a bully, we have to share the nasty beef that happened between Blake and well-respected celebrity interviewer Kirsty. And trust me, this will make you cringe. While interviewing Blake Lively and her co-star Parker Posey for the 2016 Woody Allen film Cafe Society, Flaw made an innocent yet very affectionate and well-meaning comment to Blake about her pregnancy. Because yes, at the time, Blake was pregnant with her and Ryan Reynolds' second child. But instead of a simple thank you, or even just a gracious smile like any decent human being would do, watch the horrible way in which Blake shut Flaw down and how she fired a terrible cheap shot at the interviewer.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps.
Unbelievable. How horrible is that? Now let's watch it again, closely this time, and pay attention to just how cringe the whole thing really is. Just awful.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps.
Flaw herself actually said that the whole ordeal literally made her want to quit her job.
You know what? It's not okay to behave like that, and I think it needs to be called out. And so that's the reason why I did that now so much later, and also because it took me a while, to be honest with you, it took me a while to actually get over it. It affected me for a while.
But that's not all. Blake also challenged Flaw later in the interview for asking a question about clothes, shooting her another snarky and unwarranted response. Actually, Blake pretty much flat out ignored Flaw throughout the entire interview, barely looking at her and facing her co-star the entire time and only talking to her. And speaking of Woody Allen, who, as I mentioned, directed Cafe Society, 2 years before the movie premiered, Allen was accused of and his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow. Now, Blake kind of waved the allegations against Allen aside and seemed to defend him. Blake continued to praise Allen, even calling his directing style empowering. Later on, during the Me Too movement, Farrow called Blake a hypocrite for condemning Harvey Weinstein while continuing to support Allen, who is basically guilty of the same stuff as Weinstein. From Blake's attitude towards Farrow and her abusive adoptive father, it's obvious Blake is not only a hypocrite, but may really not care about women's rights to expose their abusers. Now, as for the list of celebrities who can't stand Blake Lively, let's get into it. First up, we've got Scarlett Johansson. So before Blake and Ryan became a thing, they were both in relationships with different people. Blake was with Leonardo DiCaprio and Ryan was married to Scarlett. But guess what? Word on the street is being in relationships with different people did not stop them from hooking up. Ryan and Scarlett got married in 2008 and got divorced in 2010. Surprisingly, in the same year, Ryan and Blake co-starred in the movie Green Lantern, and the crew revealed that during filming, there was a lot of tension and chemistry between them. So much that Ryan and Blake allegedly hopped off from time to time to rent a hotel room near where the movie was being filmed.
After the divorce, Ryan Reynolds told the public that he never cheated on Scarlett Johansson, he was just friends with Blake Lively while filming. That was definitely a lie because members of the Green Lantern crew said that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively would regularly leave their trailers and go rent a hotel room together near where the movie was being filmed. Another incident happened while filming Green Lantern where a waitress called in saying she saw Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively as her customers and thought they were on a date together.
Although the two didn't publicly date at first, they did something weird. Blake broke up with her boyfriend and Ryan finalized his divorce. Now, rumor has it that Scarlett does not like Blake and has made it clear that she doesn't want to be in the same room as her. In fact, both actresses have allegedly gone to lengths to make sure they're never in each other's face. Next up, Anna Kendrick. During an interview, Anna kind of backed Blake and said she thought Blake was a nice person when she first met her, but little did she know she wasn't so nice.
Her husband Ryan several years ago, so I've met Blake a few times through Ryan on that film. And thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah.
The host even went on to talk about the body language he could see and the obvious beef between them. Next, Blake tried to touch her and Anna didn't like the idea at all. Check it out.
How quickly do you...
Don't touch me.
And speaking of body language, this next clip says it all. During an interview for their film, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Blake somehow managed to steal the spotlight from her co-star America Ferrera and turned the whole thing into a Gossip Girl interview, instead of actually talking about her film, which was why they were there in the first place. Anyways, just check out this clip and closely keep an eye on Ferrera's expressions.
Doesn't happen. You know, at the end of the first season, I was like, okay, well, what happens now? But we have a few more characters already in the beginning of the first season that come in and mess up our lives even more. We start in the Hamptons, which is a staple of New York socialites that you haven't yet seen. And, you know, we've all kind of dated each other, so we have to date more people or each other's parents, and I don't know.
Clearly, Ferrera wasn't too impressed with Blake making it all about herself. And some of Blake's other co-stars have also come forward. Blake and Leighton Meester, who co-starred together in Gossip Girl, are also said to have a frosty relationship. And in 2008, New York Magazine reported that the two stars were said to avoid each other like a plague. The tension between the two stars while on set shooting the show's early season was so high that cast members were forced to choose sides. At a point during the production of the show, a publicist for Blake opened up and said Blake and Leighton have never been best friends and never professed to be. Blake goes to work, does her job, and goes home. Even worse, as of 2024, Blake and Leighton do not follow each other on Instagram. However, Leighton follows two of her other co-stars, Chase Crawford and Penn Badgley. Another of her former co-stars to apparently have some unsettled beef with her is Armie Hammer. And if you read between the lines, it seems it was Blake who got him fired from the hit show Gossip Girl. When Armie was asked by an audience member to name the biggest diva on the set of Gossip Girl during his interview with Andy Cohen, he said, "Let me just say that it was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film." Now, when Armie revealed that he played the role of Blake's love interest in the show, Chelsea Handler, who was also on the talk show, joked and said that it was Blake who was the problem.
Tough film.
Really? Literally, you said, "Get me out of this."
It was also like, get him out of here. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it just literally was that. Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay, well then.
Sounds like she was the problem.
It sure does, Chelsea.
Armie didn't confirm that it was Blake who had made his time on set a living hell, or that it was Blake who got him fired, but he sure as heck didn't deny it either. Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer. We can only expect that more and more celebrities will come forward to tell their own horror stories about Blake Lively, because there is no doubt that more and more people are starting to see Blake for who she is. So what do you think about Blake? Is she really the big bully that other celebrities and former cast and crew and even ex-assistants are making her out to be? And what about those steamy affair rumors that she slept with Ryan Reynolds while he was still married to Scarlett Johansson? Could Blake stoop so low? Then again, it's not unthinkable because, let's be honest, it's Hollywood after all, right? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments section below and follow this channel for more videos like this one.